Sarah Miller had always loved Saturday mornings in Oakwood, Pennsylvania. The quaint suburban neighborhood came alive with garage sales during spring, and as a single mother of two on a teacher's salary, these sales were both entertainment and necessity. Her apartment walls remained mostly bare, despite living there for 3 years since the divorce. A fact her 14-year-old daughter Emma never failed to point out. "Mom, seriously, it looks like we just moved in," Emma had complained that morning over breakfast. "Even Mrs. Peterson's waiting room has more personality." Sarah smiled at the memory as she browsed through a particularly promising garage sale on Maple Street. An elderly couple was downsizing before moving to Florida, and their driveway overflowed with decades of accumulated treasures. "Everything must go," the elderly man announced as Sarah approached a table of picture frames. "My wife says if it doesn't fit in the condo, it's not coming with us." Sarah nodded politely, her attention caught by an ornate wooden frame with intricate carvings around the edges. Despite some wear, the craftsmanship was evident, the kind of quality that had become increasingly rare in mass-produced home goods. "This is beautiful," she remarked, running her finger along the frame's detailed pattern. "Ah, that old thing," the man's wife joined them. "My sister picked that up from an estate sale in Vermont years ago. It's been sitting in our attic forever." She waved her hand dismissively. $5 and it's yours." "I'll take it," Sarah decided immediately, already envisioning it holding a family photo in her living room. Perhaps that candid shot from last summer's trip to Lake Erie with Emma and 10-year-old Ethan. Later that afternoon, Sarah set the frame on her kitchen table. Emma glanced up from her phone long enough to offer a shrug of mild approval. "At least it's something," she conceded. "But don't put one of those cheesy family photos in it." "I was thinking of the lake picture from last year," Sarah admitted. Emma rolled her eyes. "Of course you were." Sarah smiled, undeterred by her daughter's teenage indifference. "Well, first I need to clean it up. It's pretty dusty." As Ethan's soccer practice wouldn't end for another hour, Sarah took the opportunity to restore her $5 treasure. She gently wiped the wooden surface with a damp cloth, appreciating the details that had first caught her eye. The frame appeared even more beautiful once the layer of grime was removed. "This really was a find," she murmured to herself, turning it over to clean the back. That's when she noticed it. The backing seemed slightly uneven. Upon closer inspection, Sarah realized the cardboard backing had been replaced at some point, and rather hastily. Curiosity piqued, she carefully pried at the edges. The backing came away easier than expected, revealing not just the empty space for a photo, but something hidden between the cardboard and the glass. Several folded yellowed papers. Sarah carefully extracted them, setting the frame aside. Her heart quickened as she unfolded what appeared to be letters, written in a neat, flowing script. The paper had yellowed with age, but the blue ink remained vivid. The first was dated April 12th, 1968. "My dearest Eliza," Sarah read aloud, feeling like an intruder in a private conversation. As she continued reading, the story unfolded before her eyes. The letters were from a man named Thomas Harper to a woman named Eliza Winters. They told a story of forbidden love. Thomas was engaged to another woman through family arrangement, but had fallen deeply in love with Eliza. "I cannot bear the thought of a life without you," one letter read, "yet I see no honorable way forward without bringing shame to both our families." Sarah was so engrossed in the correspondence that she barely heard the front door open. "Mom, we're home early. Coach got sick," Ethan called, dropping his soccer bag with a thud in the hallway. Sarah hastily folded the letters and slipped them into her sweater pocket. "In the kitchen, honey," she called back, her mind still half in 1968. That night, after the kids had gone to bed, Sarah returned to the letters. There were 7 in total, spanning several months. The final letter contained a desperate plea. "Meet me at our spot by the river at midnight. I've made arrangements. We can leave together. No one need know where we've gone until it's too late to stop us." It was signed simply, "Forever yours, Thomas." Sarah searched the frame again, hoping for more, perhaps Eliza's responses or some clue about what had happened next, but found nothing. Had they escaped together, or had their plans fallen apart? The next morning, Sarah found herself distracted during her third-grade class, her thoughts repeatedly drifting to Thomas and Eliza. During her lunch break, she impulsively searched online for Thomas Harper Eliza Winters, 1968, but found nothing conclusive among the thousands of results. That evening, she examined the frame more carefully, noticing a small engraving on the back. Riverdale Frames and Art, Millfield, PA. Sarah checked the map. Millfield was only about 40 miles away. The shop probably wouldn't exist after all these years, but the town might hold some answers. The following Saturday, Sarah convinced the kids to join her on what she called a day trip adventure to Millfield. Emma, predictably, was skeptical. "You're driving 2 hours because of some old letters you found in a frame?" she questioned, from the back seat, not looking up from her phone. "It's less than an hour," Sarah corrected. "And yes, aren't you even a little curious? It's like a treasure hunt," Ethan chimed in excitedly from beside his sister. "Maybe they were spies." Sarah smiled at her son's enthusiasm. "I doubt they were spies, but their story seems important. They were planning to run away together." "Forbidden love," Emma muttered, finally looking up. Classic. Millfield turned out to be a charming town that had embraced its historical character. The main street featured restored Victorian buildings housing boutiques and cafes. To Sarah's surprise, they found that Riverdale Frames and Art still existed, though it had been renamed Millfield Historical Framing and Restoration. A bell jingled as they entered the shop. An older woman with silver hair pulled into a neat bun looked up from behind the counter. "Welcome to Millfield Framing," she greeted them. "How can I help you today?" Sarah produced the frame and explained her discovery. The woman, who introduced herself as Margaret Dawson, examined it with interest. "This is definitely one of my father's pieces," she confirmed. "He was quite the craftsman. See this pattern here? That was his signature style." "Do you recognize the names Thomas Harper or Eliza Winters?" Sarah asked. "The letters I found were from the late 1960s. Margaret's eyes widened slightly. "Harper and Winters," she repeated softly. "Yes, those names are certainly familiar. The Harpers were prominent in Millfield, owned the lumber mill that employed half the town, and the Winters family had the largest farm in the county." Sarah felt a surge of excitement. "Do you know what happened to them? To Thomas and Eliza?" Margaret gestured toward a coffee shop across the street. "Let's talk there. My assistant can watch the shop for a bit." Over coffee and hot chocolate for Ethan, Margaret shared what she knew. It was quite the scandal at the time, though people don't talk about it much anymore. Thomas was engaged to Catherine Blackwell, a match arranged practically since childhood to unite two wealthy families. But he'd fallen in love with Eliza Winters, who worked as a teacher at the local school. "Just like Mom," Ethan interjected, making Sarah smile. "They had planned to elope," Margaret continued, "but something went wrong. The story goes that Thomas waited all night by the river, but Eliza never came." "What happened to her?" Emma asked, now fully engaged in the story. "That's where accounts differ," Margaret said. "Some say she lost her nerve, others believe her father intercepted the letters and locked her in her room. Thomas eventually married Catherine as planned, though by all accounts it was never a happy union. He took over the family business but sold it just 10 years later and moved away. No one really knew what became of Eliza." Sarah felt a profound sadness. "So their story ended unhappily." "Well," Margaret said thoughtfully, "that's what I always thought. But about 15 years ago, after my father passed away, I found an old photo while clearing his workshop. It showed a couple with 2 children, standing in front of a house in California. On the back, in my father's handwriting, was T&E Harper, 1975. Sarah leaned forward, her coffee forgotten. You think they found each other again? I believe they did, Margaret nodded. I did some digging after finding that photo. It seems Eliza disappeared from Millfield in late 1968, about 3 months after Thomas and Catherine's wedding, and Thomas left his wife and the lumber business in 1972, citing irreconcilable differences. They waited for each other, Emma whispered, a hint of genuine emotion breaking through her teenage facade. Margaret smiled. The frame you have, my father made those as wedding gifts for special customers. Very few were sold. But how did it end up at an estate sale in Vermont, and then at a garage sale in Pennsylvania? Sarah wondered. Life takes unexpected turns, Margaret replied. But I have something that might interest you. She reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. My cousin works at the county records office. If you're really curious, she might be able to help you find more concrete information. Doom. Later that afternoon, at the county records office, Margaret's cousin Alice helped them navigate through digitized archives of old newspapers and public records. Here, Alice said finally, turning her computer screen toward them. Thomas Harper filed for divorce in February 1972, and look at this marriage certificate from July 1973. Thomas Harper and Eliza Winters, married in San Francisco, California. They did find each other, Sarah breathed. With Alice's help, they traced the couple's path. Thomas and Eliza had settled in Marin County, California, where they had 2 children. Thomas had started a small but successful custom furniture business, while Eliza had continued teaching. And here's an obituary from 2012, Alice said softly. Thomas Harper, age 67, survived by his wife of 39 years, Eliza, their 2 children, and 5 grandchildren. Is Eliza still... Sarah began. Alice typed quickly. Yes, it appears she's still living, in a retirement community near San Diego. Her daughter manages it, according to their website. Sarah sat back, processing everything, so they got their happy ending, just not the way they planned. Indeed, on the drive home, even Emma was uncharacteristically reflective. Mom, she said finally, are you going to try to contact Eliza to return the letters? Sarah had been wondering the same thing. I think so, she decided. Those letters tell the beginning of their story. She might want them back. 2 weeks later, after careful consideration and a polite email exchange with Eliza's daughter, Sarah found herself on a video call with 88-year-old Eliza Harper. Despite her age, Eliza's eyes sparkled with vitality as Sarah explained her discovery. I can't believe those letters survived all these years, Eliza said, her voice strong despite its age. We always wondered what happened to them. You didn't know what became of them? Sarah asked. Thomas had hidden them in that frame. It was the first one he made after we were reunited. He'd kept the letters all those years, through his unhappy marriage, as a reminder of what we had. When we finally found each other again, he framed them. But how did you lose track of it? Eliza smiled. We gave it to our daughter Rebecca as a wedding gift, with the letters inside. It was meant to remind her that true love persists even when circumstances seem impossible. But her marriage didn't last, and during the divorce, many things were sold or given away without much thought. Sarah nodded, understanding all too well how possessions could be scattered after a marriage ended. I'd like to return them to you, Sarah offered. They belong with you. That's very kind, Eliza said, but I think they found their way to you for a reason. Thomas always believed in fate, that some things are simply meant to be. She paused, studying Sarah through the screen. Are you happy, Sarah? The question caught Sarah off guard. I'm content, she answered carefully. My kids keep me busy. But are you living the life you want? Eliza pressed gently. Or just the life that happened after your plans changed? The question lingered with Sarah long after they ended the call. That night, she placed one of her favorite family photos in the frame and hung it in the living room, but kept Thomas's letters in her nightstand drawer. 2 days later, she finally worked up the courage to message Michael, the art teacher at her school, who had been asking her to coffee for months. As she typed, she glanced at the letters in her drawer and smiled. Some stories, she was learning, take unexpected detours before finding their way to the proper ending.